Welcome to today's explainer. Get ready, because we're jumping right into the incredible, true story of a man who literally bridged two worlds. We're talking about a revolutionary thinker who took the ancient spiritual wisdom of the East and introduced it to the logic-driven philosophy of the West. His life is an absolutely inspiring journey, from a restless student to a global spiritual ambassador.
Now, it all started with one burning question. Have you seen God? I mean, imagine being this exceptionally brilliant, ambitious young student, but you're just completely consumed by this single, ultimate question. This was the driving force behind a young man's quest, a quest that wouldn't just transform his own life, but would ultimately completely change the way the world understands spirituality, tolerance, and human potential.
Section 1. The Brilliant Restless Skeptic. Okay, let's dive right into this. Born Narendranath Datta in Calcutta in 1863, during the era of British India, he was the son of a successful attorney and a deeply religious mother. From childhood, Narendra was known for his exceptional intelligence, his endless curiosity, and a profound sense of fearlessness. He was an athlete who loved wrestling and horseback riding, but he was equally fascinated by music and deep meditation. It's kind of a dual existence. As a student, he mastered this massive dual curriculum. On one hand, he was devouring the logic of Western thinkers like Plato, Kant, and Darwin. On the other, he was simultaneously studying deep Eastern scriptures like the Upanishads and the Gita. But here's the catch. Despite all this knowledge, none of the scholars or religious leaders he questioned could give him a satisfying answer to that one burning question. Have you seen God?
Section 2. Meeting the Master. So in 1881, Narendra's search led him to the Dakshineshwar Kali temple. This is where he crossed paths with a mystic named Sri Ramakrishna. And when Narendra inevitably asked him his famous question, Ramakrishna didn't give him some complicated philosophical lecture. He simply replied, "Yes, I have seen him as clearly as I see you, only more intensely." Just let that hang in the air for a second. For Narendra, this direct, unshakable confidence was world-shattering. It totally broke through his initial skepticism and really marked the beginning of a deep, transformative spiritual discipleship.
And this brilliantly illustrates Ramakrishna's core teachings. Under his master's guidance, Narendra's worldview was completely reshaped. Through deep meditation, he learned that all religions ultimately lead to the exact same divine truth. But more importantly, he realized that true spirituality wasn't just about sitting isolated in a cave. It was about the idea that service to humanity is literally a form of worship. In fact, Ramakrishna even prophesied that this masterful young disciple would one day spread India's spiritual message across the entire globe. But of course, the path to becoming a global messenger was not easy. In 1884, tragedy struck. Narendra's father died suddenly, plunging the family into extreme financial hardship. We're talking about facing actual starvation. Narendra searched desperately and unsuccessfully for work to provide for his family. This period of intense human struggle really grounded him. It cemented a lifelong, fierce compassion for the poor and proved to him, without a doubt, that spirituality must be practically linked to human service and upliftment.
Section 3. The Wandering Monk's Vision. After Sri Ramakrishna passed away in 1886, Narendra and the other young disciples formed a monastery. Narendra formally embraced the monastic life, dedicating himself entirely to his teacher's mission, and eventually took the name that history remembers, Swami Vivekananda. Let's just pause and reflect on the timeline of his journey here. For 5 grueling years between 1888 and 1893, he traveled extensively as a wandering monk. He went by train, by bullock cart, and honestly, largely on foot, across the entire Indian subcontinent. During these travels, he witnessed the heartbreaking reality of widespread poverty, caste discrimination, and severe illiteracy. And these harsh realities profoundly shaped his worldview.
This all culminated in a massive revelation moment. In December 1892, Vivekananda actually swam across the sea to a rocky islet at Kanyakumari, right at the southernmost tip of India. He sat on that rock and meditated for 3 straight days. And looking back at the mainland, he didn't just see a country in despair. He envisioned a future of regeneration. He realized that India's revival required a powerful combination of spiritual values, mass education, and dedicated social uplift. Today, that very spot is celebrated as the Vivekananda Rock Memorial.
Section 4. Triumph at the Parliament.
Armed with this powerful vision, Vivekananda set out for the global stage. In 1893, financed by devoted supporters, he set sail for America to attend the World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago. But here's the crazy part. When he arrived, he didn't even have the formal credentials required to get in. It was only through the intervention of a Harvard professor who recognized his absolute genius that he was finally admitted as a delegate. And then came the moment that made history. On September 11, 1893, a relatively unknown monk from India stood before a massive Western audience. He didn't start with some formal, stiff greeting. He simply opened with, "Sisters and Brothers of America." Those simple words carried so much genuine universal love that the entire audience erupted into a prolonged standing ovation. In that simple moment, a global icon was born. He followed that opening with a powerful message of tolerance and universal acceptance. As a true global ambassador, he spent the next few years lecturing all across the US and Europe. He introduced Western audiences to deep concepts like Vedanta philosophy, which is the idea that the divine is in absolutely everything, and the various paths of yoga, like Raja for meditation, Karma for selfless action, and Bhakti for devotion. He championed universal spirituality and religious harmony, and even founded Vedanta societies to make sure this incredible cross-cultural exchange would continue long after he left.
Let's move to Section 5, Building a Lasting Legacy.
When Swami Vivekananda returned to India in 1897, he was enthusiastically welcomed as a national hero. But he didn't just bask in the glory, He immediately went to work. He used his platform to issue a massive call to action, urging the people to cultivate self-confidence, prioritize education, and awaken their national pride. He turned his spiritual ideas into physical realities. On May 1, 1897, he founded the Ramakrishna Mission, utilizing a highly structured approach bridging inner growth with actual humanitarian welfare. We're talking Step 1, education, Step 2, medical and disaster relief, Step 3, rural development, Step 4, spiritual teaching and social service. He was literally building the machinery to serve the divine by serving humanity. So, the absolutely crucial point here is how he connected high philosophy with daily life. Think about it. If every soul is potentially divine, it means you must cultivate self-confidence and strength. Fearlessness is vital. If service to humanity is service to God, then you must actively work to relieve poverty and help marginalized communities. And if all religions lead to the same truth, well, that means actively promoting interfaith harmony. I really want you to reflect on this for a second. Ask yourself, how can you apply this kind of fearlessness and perseverance to your own life today? Why does this level of tolerance and self-reliance matter in our modern world? After years of relentless travel, writing, and leadership, his physical health began to decline. On July 4, 1902, Swami Vivekananda achieved what his followers regard as Mahasamadhi, the conscious departure of a spiritual master. He was just 39 years old. 39! In a remarkably short lifespan, his influence was so immense that it went on to deeply inspire the Indian Renaissance and shape the thinking of monumental leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, and APJ Abdul Kalam. We end today's explainer with perhaps his most famous rallying call: "Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached." Swami Vivekananda proved that all the power you need is already within you. He bridged the East and the West, the spiritual and the practical. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I'm going to challenge you. What is the goal you are awakening to? What ultimate truth are you seeking? And what are you going to do with the potential divinity that rests inside of you? Thank you so much for exploring this incredible life with me.